So the international break is finally over and we are back with the Premier League, and for Liverpool that means a trip to 20th place Southampton, rock bottom of the Premier League. And with Liverpool being top, you would think this would be a straightforward game, but of course we know it's not always like that. And as per usual, ahead of this game, I've been hearing from Arne Slot at the AXA Training Centre just round the corner, so I'm here to give you a little update on what he said and what mood he was in around this press conference and the return of Premier League football. And I think the best place to start, and I do usually start there, is with the team news, and quite a lot to get into really here today. I mean, sometimes we've had Arne Slot be a bit cagey around team news, but he was quite open and quite a few updates to offer really in this one. Surprisingly open maybe when you think about how he usually is. And we'll start with Virgil van Dijk, the captain. Of course, he came back from international duty early, and there were some suggestions maybe that a little niggle there or some sort of concern around his fitness, but fortunately sounds like he's going to be fine according to Arne Slot and should be absolutely available for this one. He also spoke about the fact that Harvey Elliott is now back in full training, and he has been training with the under-21s prior to that, so now back in full team training with the first team. And you would think with that little build-up he's had with the 21s as well that he should be available for Southampton, particularly as Liverpool have a few concerns in other areas. You can very much imagine that Harvey Elliott is going to squeeze back into the squad, and so that's really good news alongside the fact that the captain is fit as well. But there are a few concerns elsewhere now. Alisson Becker is closing in on a return. That sounds like it's imminent, but it doesn't sound like he's going to be available for this one, or effectively Arne Slot actually ruled that out. He's not going to be involved in this one. We do expect Queevy and Kelleher to be in goal for that, although Alisson shouldn't be too far away by the sounds of things, so some positive news on that one. No Trent Alexander-Arnold I'd expect in this one either. It was a kind of couple of answers that the manager gave on this one, but I think the latter answer really suggests that he's not going to be involved in this one really, and that I think we're going to see Conor Bradley in that right back berth. It doesn't look like Trent is fully over that hamstring injury that he sustained prior to the international break. And I think we also know that Diogo Jota and Federico Chiesa aren't going to be available to face Southampton either, though not a massive surprise on both counts there. And I mentioned a later answer really from the manager, and he was asked outright really whether the likes of Alisson, Jota and Trent Alexander-Arnold would be available for the big games that are coming up, of course, against Real Madrid and then Manchester City. And his response was that he doesn't expect Alisson or Jota to be involved in that one. That would be a little bit of a surprise if either of those were back. He said Trent is kind of in between, we'll have to see. Now, he was speaking specifically about the Real Madrid game when he was referencing those, so maybe with some good fortune Liverpool could get Alisson and Jota back for Manchester City, but not expected back for Real Madrid. And Trent, it sounds like kind of touch and go, so not expecting to see him at Southampton, and fingers crossed he can be ready for Real Madrid, because he'll be so important, won't he, down that side up against Vinicius Jr. And although Conor Bradley is an able deputy and I'm sure he'll be absolutely fine against Southampton, you really do want your best players back for these big games, don't you? So you're below if any of those really miss out the entirety of that double header. So fingers crossed we get some more positive updates as the time progresses towards those. Now, speaking about fitness, thought another interesting answer that kind of alluded to this really is asked about Ibrahima Konate, and not just his form this season, but the fact he's been available so frequently. He's barely missed a game, and certainly hasn't missed a game through fitness concerns. He's been great how Liverpool have been able to get him on the pitch consistently. He was asked about that, and also, of course, Konate's excellent form, and he said, look, he's someone who's massively bought into not just getting fit and following all the programmes that he give them, but all the other sides as well. In sort of, he said that in team meetings, he's noticed that he's someone who really wants to learn and soak in what they're telling them, really wants to listen and try and take on new skills and new ways of approaching the game. And I think you can see that in his performances, can't you? I mean, he's playing absolutely unbelievably at the moment, and he had, let's not forget, a bit of a dip towards the back end of last season where he struggled a little bit, whereas this season he's come back in at half-time in that Ipswich game and just being the best version of Konate we've maybe seen at Liverpool so far. So that is absolutely working for him, and I think we're seeing as well, that kind of ties in, I believe, to we're seeing a little bit of extra maturity from Konate as he gets a bit older as well. You see that he's taken on the role of captain in France at the moment over the international break and really seems to be embracing that role. And I think, as I say, just tells you a little bit about his maturity, that he's now becoming kind of not just a mainstay for his international side, but he wants to be a big character in the dressing room for Liverpool and a leader, and he is following by example, and he's taking everything in from the manager. So that is great to see, and I think it's had a big impact on his form so far this season, which we do hope continues, and we do hope that fitness record continues as well, because he's been absolutely massive for Liverpool so far. And again, I'm going to stick to kind of team news and fitness again, and he was also asked, the manager today, about whether he would rotate for this one. Now, I've alluded to the fact that it's Real Madrid and Manchester City straight after this, so you would think a game against 20th place Southampton, maybe that's a chance to maybe shuffle your pack and rotate things, but he really did push back about that idea. He didn't like this suggestion that he would rotate with the 2 games in mind coming up. He knows that the most important game is the next game, really, as far as Liverpool are concerned. He said the biggest thing that will have an influence on whether he rotates or whether he makes any changes from his last starting 11 is, look, the players who are coming back from South America who've been on international duty, that's a lot of travel for them. It's a difficult turnaround, even with it being a Sunday game, so that's going to be a factor for him. Of course, the injuries that he's got, we don't expect maybe Alisson to be in, so Kelleher will no doubt start. We don't expect Trent Alexander-Arnold, so Conor Bradley no doubt at right back. And he said those are the key things that will influence his selection for this game. Nothing to do with the fact that it's Real Madrid and Manchester City coming up, because he knows that Liverpool, look, if that Manchester City game is going to be an opportunity for Liverpool to go 8 points clear, they have to win this game against Southampton, don't they? So it's not necessarily a case of rotation, it's who's fit and available for him for this game. So we will see how that pans out and who is available for this game. Hopefully as many good players as possible. And just want to finish up by talking about another interesting point, I think, from this press conference, which was about set pieces. It was put to him that Liverpool have actually scored as many goals from opposition set pieces, you think about those 2 breakaway goals against Aston Villa, as they have them their own set pieces this season. And is that something he would like to see more from? And he admitted, yes, look, we are at the moment trying to get the best out of that. We've got some big players, we've got great delivery from the players who are putting the corners and the free kicks in, so he does want a little bit more. But he did also highlight, look, we aren't really conceding from them either, so our defensive record from set pieces is very good so far this season, but we do want that little bit extra in terms of attacking set pieces, because that can be so important in games where it's tight. I mean, you think about these games against Real Madrid and Manchester City, if you break the game by going 1-0 up through a set piece, that can really open things up for you. It can allow you to play on the counter-attack a little bit, so these are hugely influential moments in games. And as I say, Arne Slot happy with the defending, but maybe wants a little bit more from them in terms of attacking set pieces. So we'll see how that one plays out. So I'm going to leave it there. As usual, if you can like and subscribe, massively appreciate that. And let me know in the comments how much you're looking forward to this run that's coming up. Yes, it's Southampton away first, but then Real Madrid and Manchester City as well. So it's a huge week coming up for Liverpool. All 3 of these games hugely important, and we want to see them stay top of the Premier League and top of the Champions League, don't we? So hopefully can do that. As I say, let me know your thoughts on the games that are coming up in the comments, and I will see you very soon.